Hey, we are talking about hypnosis and false memories and hypnosis in this video. So we're going to talk about false memories and things that a hypnotist must keep in mind when doing hypnotherapy.
Right, and this is interesting, Chris. We should pre-frame by saying, to be honest, all memories are false memories. I mean, if you see a major crime, say there's 10 witnesses to a bank robbery and you're one of them, your story will not match theirs when you are debriefed by the police, because we magnify some aspects of the memory, we shrink down and minimize others. There are 10 different stories in 10 different events from one single actual thing.
And a lot of the details might overlap, but there might be some details that conflict between the 10 people, right? Because you have 10 different stories, like Mike said, different perspectives, different emotions, and different belief structures. So let's do a simple example on how belief structures can affect a memory, right?
Okay. Well, let's suppose that Martians exist, and you think Martians are extremely violent all the time.
Bad. Martians are bad.
Right. And you see a couple of guys in a fight in a bar, and one of them's a Martian. Your perceptual filters will tell you the Martian must have caused that because the Martian is violent, and you'll report to the police that the Martian did all the problems because your memory will be filtered through the fact that you believe something about Martians.
Now, let's say somebody else watches the exact same physical altercation.
And they love Martians.
And they don't, or they just don't even hold that view. Maybe they're totally unbiased and know nothing about Martians. And they'll say, no, that Martian was defending himself. He was attacked first.
Perfect example.
You can get two totally different responses to the same incident just based on beliefs. And that's why false memories can be created. And that person would pass a lie detector test saying that the Martian started it, right?
Yes, a polygraph does not tell you whether someone is lying or not. It just scans for difference, and it can be wrong. And it bases everything on what the person believes to be true, not what is actually true.
Okay, so false memories can also be created, and often by accident, right? Let's say by a hypnotherapist who maybe doesn't know what they're doing well enough.
Hypnotists doing age regression, traditional therapist, even the interview process without a trance can insert things into a memory that simply did not happen. Anybody who's an authority figure, a teacher, a police officer, a parent, by asking questions can lead the witness and then create memories that never happened.
So this is really important for hypnotherapists to keep in mind, especially if you're doing any kind of age regression or asking people questions about their past.
Well, yes. And in fact, in the 1980s, there was a flap of alien abductions that were coming out during hypnosis sessions.
All kinds of adults were finding out that they were actually abducted by aliens.
Right.
Except they weren't.
Except they weren't. And the others were finding out their parents were secretly Satanists and doing sacrifices in the basement. And all kinds of this stuff was going on for several years. And the reason why was well-intended, but inept therapists were asking leading questions in reverie states, in trance states, and creating these false memories.
So a suggestion made in an emotionally charged state can create a false memory if that suggestion includes details that imply something happened rather than being clean questions.
Yes, and Chris knows clean questions. He means clean language that's not going to lead the witness.
Now, you have an example about a car accident where this was done on purpose to create a certain memory.
Someone I know slammed into another car on a side street.
Rainy day.
Pouring with rain, hit the bumper. It didn't even cause the airbag to go off, but it caused dents in both cars.
So not really a slam, more of a bump.
A bump, but enough to do damage on both cars.
Okay.
The woman driving the car in front got out. She was fine. And the hypnotist who was driving the car that was actually at fault said, "Did you see him? Why did he stop in front of you like that?" She went, "What?" He said,
why did he slam on his brakes?
Stop that gray car, slam on the brakes. You couldn't possibly have stopped. No wonder I hit you. And she went, "Yeah, well, why did he just drive away? Where did he go?" I don't know. Then they both go to the vehicle reporting station run by the police to report the accident. And the entire thing comes out that this person in front of the woman in the gray car slammed on his brakes. She managed to stop, but the hypnotist didn't and hit her. No fault. And the other car did not exist.
So there you go. That is the purposeful creation of, maybe not ethical, but in that case, that is an actual example that happened. Let's talk about another example where you can be listening to someone else's story.
I know where you're going.
So profoundly, so with interest. What do people do?
You can take it on.
What do people do? People listen and they associate into the story. That's how we assign meaning to it, right? We imagine it's happening to us. That can create a false memory. And you know of a story, right?
Years ago, I was at a party with a bunch of people and we were talking about different things that had happened. Metro Toronto Zoo is a large world-class zoo and you can go cross-country skiing there in the winter, of course. And some of the animals are still outside in these large areas that aren't, penned up cages. And so I'm skiing through Metro Toronto Zoo. I come up on a little rise and on the rise, maybe 40 feet away is a freaking tiger looking at me. And I was like, holy crap. And then realized between us, there was a dip and the fence was down in the dip and it wasn't noticeable in the snowy landscape.
So it freaked you out because you thought there was this tiger that's about to eat you.
Well, just kill me at least.
Yeah.
And so I told this and my wife jumps in and said, that didn't happen. I said, yes, it did. I remember it. She said, it happened to me. She said, I told it and you heard the story years ago. I went, really? I had that as my memory and it never, ever happened.
Did she look at you and say, oh, you fool?
No, she didn't.
Okay.
Fortunately.
So it happened to your wife. You heard the story and so intently associated into it
as my own memory.
That later, you wouldn't say this like the next day.
No.
But maybe a few years later, you think, oh yeah, that happened to me. And you would pass a polygraph if somebody asked you. You are certain that it happened to you, even though it's false memory,
yes.
right? And that's because our brains cannot differentiate between
a real and a vividly imagined experience. Remember, Chris, as a police trainer, I was teaching the RCMP, which are Canadian federal police, and just did a demo in front of the group, just asked a young policeman some leading questions. And we developed a memory of him being up at a cabin in northern Manitoba and seeing a UFO come down and land behind the trees. Never even happened.
Yeah, and it was just by changing the tense of the language
Changing the tense, building rapport.
In hypnosis.
Leading them into a trance without saying.
All right, let's talk about, we're going to wrap this up with talking about how we can use this for good. So why the heck would you want to create a false memory and how can that help someone?
Well, if you've got bad memories in your life, go into a nice relaxing state. It doesn't have to be a trance. Revisit the memories, dissociate from them, see them externally, change them, rewrite them, and put them back in.
The principle here being that if you change the memory,
you change the meaning.
You change the meaning. Now, will you be aware of it?
You'll be aware of it, but it still works. Your brain doesn't know the difference, again, between a real and a vividly imagined experience.
All right, let's do a few examples of this. So you had an incident the other year with some ground wasps.
Oh yeah, ground wasp stung me. Even though I've been stung many times, I went into anaphylaxis and was rushed to the hospital. He got me in an IV on me and all this stuff really, really quickly and saved my life. And years later, a couple of years later.
The doctor had said something to you too about an EpiPen, right?
Yeah, but the doctor gave me an EpiPen, 2 of them. And he said to me, if you get stung again, it'll be way worse and it'll probably happen faster. He said, don't even pull your jeans down, bang it right through your jeans so you get the adrenaline to save your life. And he said, if it doesn't work, use the second one.
So that's the real memory.
That's the real memory. But I worked with William Wood, a friend of ours whose specialty is curing or helping people overcome, let's say, to be careful here, helping people overcome horrendous allergic responses. He ran this all hypnotically with me. And he said, what was the last thing the doctor said? And I said, he said to me, if you get this again, it'll be worse. It'll happen even sooner. You got to beware. And he erased all that. We ran the memory 6 times faster 6 times and running it faster and faster. And the doctor saying to me, you're probably over this now. You'll never have a problem with this again. Now, I haven't been stung since, but I don't worry about it. We got ground wasp at our cabin.
It hasn't been tested yet.
I've got EpiPens. But if I do get stung, my belief is that nothing will happen.
So what we've done here is create parallel memories.
Yes.
Mike doesn't have this illusion that the original doctor's statement never happened.
No.
But he has a parallel memory now. And that's
the doctor giving me good advice and more bedside manner advice instead of watch out.
Yeah.
Yeah. And you can change your memories. Chris knows I was severely bullied as a kid. I was a small, smart, sarcastic kid, beaten up a lot. And as an adult and a British Jiu-Jitsu instructor, I went back in a trance and revisited all of those idiots and the experiences they put me through and just simply destroyed them all, not killing them, but destroying them all with my Jiu-Jitsu skills now as an adult and rewrote all those memories. So I'm not afraid of other human beings. I have parallel memories now. I have the ones that really happened, and I have the ones that I've rewritten them to. Presented with the 2 parallel memories, your brain will choose the most resourceful one for you.
Exactly. So this new memory that runs parallel to the old takes away some of the emotional charge. I suppose you could think of it like if you have a ball with static electricity on it and you take away some of that unbalanced charge, oh, now it's more neutral. Doesn't bother me so much.
Good point. And it leads to the whole idea of age regression and the informed child when we change a memory. In fact, when I refought those idiots in my past as a kid, I showed up in the memory as an adult.
Yeah.
And just when me, the kid, was about to be beaten up, I'd say to the other kid, the other me, I'll take care of this.
Yeah.
And just, roll these guys up, destroy them, and then say, and I will always be here for you. You're going to grow up and become me. Mm-hmm. This is the informed child. And that becomes built into your neurology and your psychology.
So you can do this to yourself, or if you're a therapist, you can use this to help your clients, which, speaking of which, we do have a playlist on age regression on YouTube here. So we'll make sure there's a link in the description under this video to our playlist on age regression. It's a multi-part video series. It's awesome. I think you're going to love it. So let's wrap it up.
That bottom line. All memories are false memories. They all have only a degree of accuracy, and it is easy to install false memories with varying degrees of awareness.
That you may be aware it's false, or you may not be aware at all. You could do it on purpose, or it can just happen.
Right. So we need to remember this in stressful situations, dealing with authority. Make sure that you finally use this when you're cleaning up people's past. If you're a therapist, make sure that you give them better memories. As Richard Mandel used to say, it's never too late to have a happy childhood.
And remember the line, what would you prefer to have happened instead? It's a bit of a variation on what would you like to have happened, present tense, which we often ask
backwards
to the past. What would you prefer to have happened instead? And go ahead and create that memory.
And the power, of course, is it's great. You're involving the client in the rewriting of their own memory or memories.
All right. So as an empowering ending, let's give you this. What bad memory from your childhood or any time in the past can you go in to self-hypnosis and rewrite? I think if you do that, you'll have a better life.
That's right.
Right. Now, I'm Chris Thompson.
I'm Mike Mandel.
We run Mike Mandel Hypnosis, and our flagship online training is called the Mike Mandel Hypnosis Academy. If you want to learn more about hypnosis, whether you're a total beginner or
a hypnosis trainer,
just come on in. We'll start you out with the Mike Mandel Hypnosis Academy. We'll put a link in the video, in the description, I should say, not in the video.
No,
a link in the description under this video. While you're here, you may as well smash that subscribe button and ring the bell so that you'll always be notified of our videos. Thanks again,
and good night.